Welcome back to the Braydon Hefford Show. It's been a while. I took a little bit of time off. I was a little under the weather, and then schedule just got busy. So we're going to waste no time, and let's jump right into this immediately right away. So today we're going to be talking about UFC 320, which took place a few weeks back now. Alex Pereira knocking out Magomed Ankalaev in a minute and 20 seconds or a minute and 40 seconds. Absolutely crazy. We're going to talk about that. Merab versus Corey Sandhagen. Talk all about that. Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree today on the Braydon Hefford Show. All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we're going to be talking everything about UFC 320. It was a very, very good card. It was very entertaining. The three fights at the top all three were very great fights, very fun to watch. Even all of the fights before those were very good fights, very fun to watch fights. So I'm going to start off with the first of really the triple header, which was Yuri Prochazka versus Khalil Roundtree. What a fight that was. Absolutely awesome fight. It was a very back and forth fight. It was really strange. When I'm watching the fight, it looked like Yuri Prochazka looked off. Something about him looked off. Something about him looked very different. He was just moving a little bit gingerly. It almost looked like he had an injured leg or something. The way he was kind of moving. Just the way he was moving, the way he was walking, the way that he was kind of bouncing around. He looked off. Round one was close, but I felt like Khalil Roundtree got the better of the first round. The second round was definitely closer. And then in round three, it's like the wheels fell off for Roundtree, and Prochazka just took advantage. Yuri just closed it out and came in and put Roundtree out, and it was just beautiful to watch. What's interesting about this fight for me is that these guys, they sort of started off a little bit slow. One of the things I often like watching the lighter weight class guys fighting, because there's a lot more speed. Somebody like Sean O'Malley, for example, or even Max Holloway. When these guys are punching, there's a lot more speed involved because they're smaller. I find the bigger guys, once you get after middleweight, really the light heavyweight and the heavyweights, are they have very good power punching, but the speed isn't as good. And when I was watching this fight, Yuri versus Roundtree, that's kind of what I was seeing was these hits that almost looked in slow motion. They were landing very well. They were obviously inflicting damage on whichever side, whoever was hitting who. There was definitely damage being caused, but there was not a lot of speed there. And then, it was just a great fight. I actually liked that the fight was a 3-round fight. Initially, I was one of the people that was really critiquing whether or not the fight should be 5 rounds versus whether it should be 3 rounds. And I initially said 5-round fight. I liked that it was a 3-round fight. I thought it was the perfect length. I was disappointed. I really like Khalil Roundtree as a fighter. I just think he's really good. I love that he's kind of not afraid to get in there and just get in the mud with these guys and throw with these big dudes, because he's a lot smaller for his weight class in terms of height. And I really thought that, okay, he comes in, he wins the fight. There's a chance that he fights for a title again, close down the line probably. He has just beaten Jamal Hill, who's a former champion. So I just thought that it would be something that would be nice. But that's obviously not what happened. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the fights to come in the future, what I think the fights to make are once I cover the main event, because it's the same weight class. But I want to go to Merab versus Corey first. That fight was brilliant. Really, really good fight. I believe that first round, Corey had it. It was Corey's fight. I was like, Corey's got this. He's gonna win for sure, 100% hands down. And then round 2, they come out, and Merab just starches him. He just hits him with this fury where I'm like kind of surprised that they didn't stop the fight. They definitely could have, and most likely should have stopped that fight, just because of like the way he was taking shots. He wasn't really defending himself. You could tell that he was dazed and confused and kind of didn't really know where he was or what was going on. That round for me, round 2, was the turning point in that fight, 100%. After that round is when it really just started to turn the tide, and it was Merab's fight from there on out. So I thought Corey fought well, considering after that he was probably dazed and confused and unsure of where he was. Corey Sandhagen is a threat in that weight division, 100%. He is a threat in that weight division. He's a guy that if he game plans properly, he is a threat to win. And so just to spend a little bit of time talking about the bantamweights, the question becomes now, well, what's next? So Merab is fighting Petr Yan in December, last fight card of this year, which will be fantastic. I'm excited for that. I don't know how I feel about Petr Yan getting a title shot. I just feel like, Umar rematch, I would have liked to see that. Even the Sean O'Malley, third fight, trilogy fight, I know he's 0-2, but we've seen that tons of times where they remake a third fight when someone's lost twice already, just because of how good the guys match up against each other. And I also felt like Sean O'Malley fought a way better fight against Merab the second time around than the first time around. I felt like he sort of earned and warranted a third fight. Obviously, you're not going to remake Sandhagen, so I don't mind it. I just feel like it would have been nice to see Petr Yan beat one of those top guys before getting a shot to, again, fight for a title. So, we'll see. I don't know. I don't think Petr Yan's going to win, obviously. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I like the fight from a matchup standpoint. Stylistically, I think it's a fight that makes a lot of sense and is entertaining. I just don't know how I feel about Yan sort of jumping that pecking order, I guess, if you will. What do you do with Corey Sandhagen? Well, I would love to see Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. I think that fight, two guys who are stand-up guys. Sean's a better boxer probably, but Corey's definitely a better jiu-jitsu guy than Sean O'Malley. I think that those are the two guys that are right there for almost like the next up after Umar, obviously. But that to me is the fight to make. What do you do with Umar? I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't know at this point. I think that's a difficult decision to make at this point in time, is what you do with him. Does he just wait and fight the winner of the next fight? Probably. But I think 100% Corey versus Sean O'Malley is the fight to make. Now, if Merab beats Petr Yan, you can make the case, and I would make the case, that he should move up and fight Alexander Volkanovski at 145. That would be a fantastic fight. I've been saying that for a while. I do see it happening, for sure, because if you're Merab, why wouldn't you want to do that? And I think that's a tricky fight for Volkanovski. Now, I will say this. I think Volkanovski has fights at featherweight. That was one of the things for a long time when he initially was at featherweight, moved up and fought Islam. At the time, I'm like, well, this makes sense, right? He's fought Holloway more than once and beat him. He's fought Brian Ortega. He fought Yair. He fought all these guys that were you need to beat before you can move up, right? So I had no issue with him moving up at that point in time. Now I like him at 45 because you've got Movsar Evlov, I think is how you say it, who's never lost a fight. You've got Leroy Murphy, who's never lost a fight. So you've got those two fights that are, like, to me, he needs to have. But the Merab fight is very interesting to me. Now, you could do Murphy versus Movsar and then have Volk wait to fight Merab, but who knows? The UFC's always got some up their sleeve, right? So they're gonna do something significant and good, I'm sure. Main event: Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. What a fantastic performance from Alex Pereira. Now, in the first fight between these two, I predicted that Ankalaev is going to win. I remember when I first saw Ankalaev fight, and I'm like, this guy's special. This is a guy who's going to be a champion one day, 100%. He's a well-rounded fighter. He just has a lot of skills all around. He's good at every part of fighting. He's a big guy as well. So going into the first fight, I was like, he's winning. Coming into this fight, I said Pereira will win this fight. I said it on X. There's record of it. For those who, he's just saying that. There's record that I said this. But the interesting thing is this. Obviously, Pereira won, knocked him out in spectacular fashion, proving that he was not healthy in the first fight. Came into this fight and was himself, was healthy. I heard he broke his foot or his toe during the fight, which is not shocking to me at all. The one thing that I will say, though, is I still stand by. I've always believed that Ankalaev is a more well-rounded fighter and a better all-around fighter than Pereira. And I still think that, even with what happened in this fight. I just think Pereira has so much power. He has so much power in his shots, and he's a guy that you don't really get multiple chances at beating, if that makes sense. And there's a lot of guys that, like, when they're in their prime, it's like if you beat them once, it's like good luck winning against them in the future. That's why I never understood guys that, like, take rematches against these dudes, because I'm like, you got luck. Like, for example, one of the best examples I would say that I have is Leon Edwards versus Usman. Leon's getting destroyed the whole fight. Head kick knocks out Usman. Flush, out cold, right? And then they remake that fight right away. And if I'm Leon, I'm like, I'm not doing that. No way. Like, because he was losing. He was losing the entire fight and got lucky. Hail Mary attempt, he beat him. Now, obviously, he went into that third fight and beat Usman, which I don't think anybody saw coming. But it's not like Usman was a guy who was, like, on a downward trajectory from his prime. So that's more what I'm talking about. Same with when Pereira fought Izzy, right? Pereira beats Izzy, knocks him out in his prime. Izzy comes back, knocks Pereira out, took some time off, and ever since he's come back, he hasn't won. He just lost and he lost and he lost. Lost to Sean, and then he lost to DDP. He lost to what's his name? Imavov. So he's just like, he's a guy that was in his prime and is now kind of on the downward trajectory. So, anyways, what fights to make next here? Because this also goes back to the first fight of this card, Yuri and Roundtree. So here's what I think I would do. Pereira has said he wants to go to heavyweight. I want to see that. I do want to see him go to heavyweight. However, there are still fights in this weight class for him, particularly with Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg is number 3 ranked. I don't remember his record. I think it's something close to like 21-3 or something like that. But I want to see that fight. Before Pereira even entertains moving up, I want to see that fight. So if I'm the UFC, I'm for sure going to make that fight. The thing is this. Pereira, with what he's done and who he is for them, they're going to let him do whatever he wants. He wants to go to heavyweight and fight Aspinall or John Jones. They're going to let him do that. So here's what I think should happen if that's the case. So let's assume Pereira is moving up. Okay. So I think what you do then is Ankalaev versus Yuri Prochazka. Because obviously Prochazka winning puts him right back in that title conversation. Ankalaev is the former champion. Yes, he got knocked out, but still a former champion. So that's a fight that I would want to see. Yuri versus Ankalaev. Again, this is assuming that Pereira has moved up. Then what I would do is Carlos Ulberg versus Khalil Rountree. Because you can argue that the winners of like those fights are next in line, right? Like if Ankalaev versus Yuri is for the interim title, let's say, then you can argue that Ulberg should be fighting the winner of that. But if it were me, you fight Rountree. Rountree's fought all these top dudes. He had a title shot against Pereira and lost. He was a couple punches away from beating Yuri. So, and maybe I'm a bit biased because I like him, but that's a fight that I like. Now, if Pereira does not move up, then I think you still do Ankalaev versus Yuri. You do Pereira versus Carlos Ulberg. And then I think you do Prochazka versus Jan Blachowicz. That's one that I would really like to see. Or Brendan Allen, who is that even the right weight class? Who just beat Renier de Ritter. That could be the 185, actually. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting how this whole thing shakes out. I'm excited. When you guys are watching this, it's this weekend coming up that Cyril Gane is fighting Tom Aspinall. So I'm very excited to see what happens there. November 15th is the super fight between Islam and JDM. That'll be a fun one. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in for this little update. I'm trying to keep episodes a little shorter, split them up. I underestimated the amount of time it takes to edit these things when I did my first two, which is another reason why I was a little bit further behind. So I'm going to try to chop these things up and make them a little bit shorter. So that's going to be all for today. If you tune in probably next week, I might upload it sooner, we will see. We will discuss the NBA, everything NBA. I'm going to talk about Giannis, the report of him wanting to go to the Knicks and him confirming that. I'm going to talk about LeBron James being injured, how this impacts the Lakers. We're going to talk about Westbrook joining the Kings, Kevin Durant signing a 2-year, $90 million extension with Houston, taking a $30 million pay cut. We're going to talk about Paul George's injury and much more. So tune in next time. Thank you guys for being here, and we will see you next time.